Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Mercury conjunct the natal ascendant. Well, during this time of this transit, you're apt to be more loquacious and talkative than usual, and that may very well be a vast understatement. Um, you could be more inquisitive during this time. You might be more apt to ask people questions more so than usual. And you could be doing this maybe even excessively. I mean, depending on sign, say if it's in Gemini or Virgo, then forget it. Uh, you could really be bombarding people with questions, and some people, remember, might be taken aback by this. There could be a very much stronger ability to articulate things and be very verbose, more so than usual during this time. Keep in mind that when you're getting the transit Mercury conjunct your natal ascendant, okay, everybody uses a different orbit on the transit with Mercury. I use 3 degrees applying and 2 degrees separating. So, and when it's making the applying aspect, of course, it's still in the 12th house, but it's getting ready to come out of the first. And the thing about this is, keep in mind, Mercury also, I mean, besides communication, which is the main thing people seem like they talk about when we're talking about Mercury, but Mercury also can be connected with siblings and neighbors. So it could be if you had a if applicable, if you do have a sibling and you're experiencing this transit and that person, you hadn't seen them in some time, they might resurface because it's coming out of the house of limitations and restrictions, and Mercury is getting ready to come out of the 12th and enter the first. So that could be a possibility. And two, people may, well, some may wonder too, given that Mercury also governs thieves, they wonder, well, if Mercury is transiting, is making a conjunction to my ascendant, it's contacting the physical body. Could that mean there'd be a greater propensity perhaps to get robbed during this time? Well, it could be a little bit, but I think when you have something like this, it's really, I mean, I would say probably you'd have to have more factors, maybe through transits, that could reaffirm or could affirm or reinforce this. I mean, say if you got like Saturn or Pluto transiting your second house of income. Saturn, of course, is restrictions, and of course, Pluto can just represent destruction and obliteration. And like, say if you have like some negative aspect or aspects coming toward your own natal Mercury, because this could cloud judgment. Let's say you have transit Neptune making a square in conjunct or opposition to your natal Mercury, your judgment might be clouded and you might be more susceptible to putting yourself in situations of either getting robbed or maybe being manipulated out of money by con men. So anyway, well, this could be a time where you might be a lot more mobile in your in your neighborhood. You might be running more errands for people during this time than usual. If you're taking people in the neighborhood on short journeys, perhaps you might be much busier just with your communications in general during this time than usual. And I mean, if you have an ascendant that's generally pretty fairly quiet, it's not one that's generally loquacious or talkative. I mean, let's say you have a Capricorn or Taurus ascendant and you're experiencing this transit. I think this transit will be more obvious. I mean, the way you express yourself, the change and disparity perhaps in your communications can be more evident to others, as opposed to, let's say, if you had a more talkative ascendant, like say Gemini or Sagittarius, who's talkative anyway. But if you have basically a fairly quiet ascendant that's generally not known to be loquacious or talkative, you experience this transit, then people are obviously, I think, will notice the disparity in the frequency of your communications. So very easily. Now, at the same time, keep in mind that the ascendant is about yourself. It's a physical body, so you might be talking more about yourself and maybe what things you might be doing in connection with your physical body, whether it might be working out vigorously. You might be coming up maybe with more ideas in terms of perhaps improving the physical body, this could also be a period where you might express more ability to be dexterous or showing dexterity during this time. It could be doing auto mechanics, refrigeration mechanics. It could even be something simple like maybe putting a gym equipment together, like say a bench press together. It could be just some general assembly in the home, some cabinets or something, but you might be showing a lot more ability to work with your hands generally than usual. Now, the thing about it is, of course, a lot depends on the sign Mercury is transiting. I mean, if it's in, for example, if it's in Leo and it's conjuncting your ascendant by transit, you might talk a lot, but you might be boasting a lot about yourself and also talking with a lot of self-assuredness and confidence. So, and if it's in Gemini, well, you might be simply talking about many different subjects and various subjects, and really this could be a period where you might be a little bit more restless and antsy than usual, and maybe even a little bit more excitable than usual too. So the thing about it is to also keep in mind to look at all transits in your chart during this time, because you could have some contraindicators by transit. Let's say that transit Mercury, I mean, let's say you're getting like transit Saturn is making a conjunction to your Mercury in your chart, while you're experiencing transit Mercury making a conjunction to your natal ascendant. Well, you might not be as voluble or be as talkative during this time, because transit Saturn conjuncting natal Mercury, of course, could put a clamp on your communications. You might, I mean, there might be some more interest, more in mental stimulation during this time or what have you, but you may be a little bit less talkative because you would be having that Saturn transit conjoining your Mercury, and of course that could put a little clamp and suppress communications a little bit, or Saturn maybe even conjuncting your third house ruler could be another example. So it's always important, like I talk about at the end of my videos, not to isolate anything in the natal chart. Well, that applies and pertains to transits as well. So really, I mean, people, that'll put a wrap on this YouTube astrological segment, and stay tuned next time where I'll be talking about transit Mercury sextile or trine your natal ascendant. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.